Hey, what's up? Uh, I wanted to show a blaster that I just finished, and then, which would be this one, Return of the Jedi blaster. And I also want to talk about the differences between this Return of the Jedi blaster and this one. They both look very similar, but they are different blasters, and they are each featured in Return of the Jedi, sort of. This blaster I'll start with. This one I just finished. This is a really cool design, actually. The base of this blaster from the film was built on an MGC Mauser, while the other one was built on a live-fire C96. You can see this blaster a couple times in the film. Most predominantly is when the Ewoks take over the Rebels, and Solo's got his blaster held up and they take it from him, and it's this blaster here. You can see I designed the milling on this one. You can see you can see it in the film as well. You can make that out. What's unique about this blaster build specifically is it's built on a Denix, but I modified the Denix heavily so it would be more in line to an actual MGC. So that means that I changed out the hammer, the trigger, both of which are identical to an MGC. I modeled MGC and then subbed them in. I modified the Denix as well, so it's more in line. You can kind of see it right there. Whereas this blaster here, this is what is referred to as a Stembridge blaster, because a company in the United States, a gun rental called Stembridge, built it from parts that were sent over from Bapti. And then they built this one on a live-fire C96 for the outside shots that are featured in Return of the Jedi, in front of the bunker, where Solo's using it in front of the bunker. Again, this is a Denix Mauser, which I modified heavily to make it more in line to what you'd see on an actual Mauser. These parts in here are all modified. And again, the trigger and hammer. This is a trigger and hammer that is identical to an actual live fire. I modeled them and just subbed them in. They work really well. The Denix again has been completely modified. The biggest differences between these two blasters are, we'll start with the flash hiders. This flash hider has 2 screws in it, as you can see. Now, why they did all these indiscrepancies between the two, I couldn't tell you that. They just made an assembly line of parts because none of the parts match up, even from the mount. Like the flash hiders, as you'll see, look, this one's a little fatter, this one's a little thinner. The details all over the place are different between the two. This is only attached by 1 scope ring, whereas this one has 2 scope rings on it. You see a couple pictures. This isn't how it sat in the film. There's a famous picture of it sitting like this with the scope ring all the way to the front. In the film, it's more in line to being actually here. So it's a little farther back actually in the film itself. And again, this one has the 1 scope ring, whereas this one had 2. The scopes themselves are very, very similar. The biggest difference that I noticed between the 2 scopes is this scope here on the MGC actually has this back ring to it that fits in the back, whereas this one is flush. It has no back ring, it just sits inside. There's no real images of the back that I saw, so that is a bit of a liberty that I took as far as how I created the lens being held in there. Or at least I didn't find any pictures on it, but it works really well. On the right-hand side of the blaster, this has 2 greeblies, a greebly here and a greebly here. Both are screwed in. The mount itself is attached by screws, whereas this being a live fire Mauser, they probably didn't want to mess too much with the base of it. So there's no greebly here, there's no greebly here at all. From my understanding, the greeblies were sent over, they just didn't attach them. The mount is attached a little differently as well. There's no visuals of the screws. I just made caps and the screws underneath, and then I cap them on top. I assume that's what they did as well, but there's no way of really knowing. Just logically, that's what makes sense, unless they glued everything on, which I highly doubt. And then on the other side of the Mauser, this is again the C96 that's featured in front of the bunker. There's two Greeblies, three actually. They glued this on the back, and these two are glued up front. Whereas this Mauser here, the MGC version, has the two up front that are screwed in. These are not screwed in. These are again just glued on. You can see it, and it's got the details milled into it. Whereas this one has no milling on it at all. Again, being a live fire, they probably didn't want to mess with the inside. So, but this here, they had the Greeblies, the milling details, and there's you can see Solo holding it up like this. I'll put a picture over here, and you can actually see it pretty clearly. What else do we got on here? Oh yeah, the grips. This is the Denix grips on them, which I changed out the screws to make the echelon screws more, because that's what are on the actual prop. Whereas this one here, it's got an interesting design. It's like fish skin, kind of. So I had to design these up to get these made. But they work well. I mean, they fit the bill, and they give the representation of what the blaster should look like. Yeah, what else on this thing that pops out? Oh, that's pretty much it, honestly. Yeah. They're beautiful blasters. Pretty cool props. Anyways, yeah, here you go.